Welcome to the Martin Bailey Photography Podcast. It's December 17, 2021, and this is episode 763. I've just released an update for our MBP Fine Art Border Tools plugin for Adobe Photoshop, so I wanted to spend a little time today to explain the great new features that are now available. The update is version 1.5.1, so if you already own FAB tools and you don't see these options, please check the Adobe Plugin Manager and update the plugin if necessary. All of the new features are in the Add Text module, where you can add text to your resized and framed image. Two of these new features were based on suggestions I received from a listener, so I'd like to give a shout out to Roger Jones from the UK and thank Roger for the suggestions and for using FAB tools. Also, please note that I've just released a 24-minute video to explain these new features, so I'll embed that here in the blog post as well, and that's at mbp.ac/763. It will probably be easier to follow along if you watch the video. I'll go on though to explain in the rest of the post for those of you that want to listen or for Patreon members that want to read. From version 1.5, which was released a few days ago in the Adobe Exchange Marketplace, there are now more text customization options than ever. First of all, you can now add a second line of text that you manually enter for your text watermark. All you have to do to use the second line of text is to select the second line text field inside the green box on the screenshot that I've posted on the blog, and that you can also see if you're listening to the podcast on a device that shows chapter images. And once you have selected that field, you can just type away. The second line will also appear for any text watermarks that you have already configured and can be used just as though you were creating the watermark afresh. When you tab away from the text field, your text is automatically saved along with your first line and other options such as the font style and font color. Once saved, if you don't need to embed your second line in your watermark, you can either delete the text or uncheck the Activate checkbox to the right of the second line text field. If you want to change your text regularly, leave the Auto Hide checkbox unchecked, and then the field will remain on the screen when the other options are hidden. Another new feature in version 1.5 is the ability to add any font that you have installed on your system to the font pull-down for use in the text watermarks. To get started, just click on the Add Font button that you can now see when you click on the Show Options in the Add Text module. If you haven't added a text watermark yet, you need to add at least one before these options are visible. After clicking the Add Font button, you will see 6 text fields that you can see in the screenshot that I've put on the blog after the font book screenshot. The first of the 6 fields is for the font name, and the following 5 are for the various styles that you commonly find in a font. The name can be anything you want, but so that you can recognize the font, using the font name is recommended. For the remaining PostScript name fields, you can use the font file name without the extension, or get the font style name from the font book under the Applications menu on a Mac or the System Font Viewer on Windows. These names have to match the actual font names or your custom font will not work. After entering the style names, click the Store Font button and check the Preview to see that the font is working. If you have added more than one style, also check that the style changes in the preview when selected. You can add different styles to the 5 provided. For example, you might add an extra light font instead of the light font, or extra bold instead of bold. But note that the style will only be displayed by the available style radio button with the default names. Once you have added a custom font, you can press the Edit Font button that will be displayed when a custom font is selected and reopen the font text fields to check or change what you added. There is no limit to the number of fonts that you can add. Note too that the fonts are added to the MBP custom fonts.txt file that you can find along with the other preferences files that are stored. To see your custom fonts file and potentially to make a backup of the file, go to the Tools module and click on the Show Settings Folder Path button. Then copy the path to the clipboard and paste that into the dialog that appears when you select Finder, Go, and Go to Folder on a Mac, or paste it into the path in the Explorer path field in Windows. Version 1.5 also introduces 2 new description text wrapping options. The description text is automatically extracted from your image if you added a description, either in the File Information, Description field in Photoshop, or in another application like Capture One Pro or Lightroom. If you add a description in Photoshop, note that you must save and close, then reopen the file before MBP FAB Tools will be able to read the description from the image file. The first of the 2 wrapping options is to return after the number of words entered into the first of the 2 optional fields. Your description will automatically be wrapped after the number of words entered. The second new wrapping option is to wrap when FAB Tools finds a specific character or character string in your description. By default, this is an opening parenthesis bracket, as you can see in the example screenshot. I wrapped the description after the first 2 words, the abyss, by including the remaining description inside parenthesis. I've not limited the character wrap to the first instance of a character, so you could theoretically wrap line after line by including the wrap character multiple times. The last major update in this release is the Safe Text Scaling option, as it is now possible to build text watermarks that can potentially overflow the space provided in the border surrounding your resized image. I've added the Safe Text Scaling option and turned it on by default, and this will essentially prevent your text from overflowing the border and being cut off. The cool thing about this is that if you do work with multi-line text watermarks and are happy for them to fill the border space vertically, you can now just set a larger scale percentage than necessary and allow the Safe Text Scaling option to resize your text to fit the border automatically. So for example, instead of trying to find the percentage required to fill the border, which may be say 32%, you can now just specify 50% and leave the rest to FAB Tools. Needless to say, it works with landscape or portrait orientation images as well as square and panorama images. If you want to know whether the Safe Text Scaling is kicking in, look below the 3 options under the Text Anchor Target section in the Add Text module while adding a text-based watermark. You'll see a green message quickly flash onto the screen saying Text Auto-Scaled. to actually be on the add text screen if you are adding a watermark during the resizing process, select Apply Web or Print Border from the hamburger menu in the top right of the FAB Tools plugin panel. Okay, so we'll start to wrap it up there for this week. If you don't yet own a copy of the MBP Fine Art Border Tools and would like to, you can jump directly to the product page on the Adobe Exchange Marketplace with the short link mbp.ac/FABTMP, and you can get to our product page for further details with the link under the shop menu at the top of the martinbaileyphotography.com website. To finish, I'd quickly like to say a huge thank you to Richard, Jim, David and Candice, our new patrons. Thank you alongside the other patrons for your support of the Martin Bailey Photography Podcast. And thank you for listening today. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider supporting us on Patreon, which comes with a variety of tiers and benefits depending on your contribution. Although all tiers provide access to the full blog posts for more than 760 episodes, as well as access to the new MBP community. For details, check out our Patreon page at mbp.ac/Patreon. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and links to everything that I'm up to are at martinbaileyphotography.com, so do drop by and take a look. I'll be back next week with another episode. In the meantime, you take care and have a great week, whatever you're doing. Bye-bye.